failed to chase up the Ulster Unionists very successfully.
The total Unionist vote is about the same. Last time it was split, this time it's united. It's about the same as last time. Mr. Cooper has put on 11% onto the SDLP vote compared to last February.
And now back to Robin, who I think has Mr. Enoch Powell down the line to Southdown.
Good afternoon, Mr. Powell.
Hello, Robin. Long time no see.
Yes, I'm sorry not to have talked to you in recent weeks. May I just ask if you recall those lines which you once quoted from Houseman? Do you feel that there has been a just use in this election of those weapons stored in the arsenals of divine vengeance?
The weapons are there all right in the arsenal, and I thought that the United Kingdom result indicated a further application of them. But so far as Southdown is concerned, the important thing is that the Unionist vote was up by between 2,000 and 3,000, showing that the process of reunification of the different strands of unionism in Northern Ireland is going ahead. That's the most important result to me.
It's been suggested here, Mr. Powell, that the reduced majority in your constituency will affect your prestige among the Ulster loyalists and will diminish your chances of becoming their parliamentary leader.
Oh dear. Well, we shall have to see about that, shan't we?
Yes, we will indeed. What do you think is the truth of the matter?
I haven't given the question of my chances there a thought. The point is that we, the 12 of us, have fought as a single team for the second time in 1974. That is the central fact, and the increased Unionist vote in Southdown gives emphasis to it.
Mr. Powell, do you take credit, as again has been suggested here this afternoon, for perhaps being the influential cause which, in saying vote Labour, which just tipped Labour over the line to a narrow majority?
I hope so. One can never prove these things. I hope so. And of course, from the point of view of those of us who are determined to see Britain outside the common market in its present form, this is a particularly gratifying result, since it is perfectly obvious that Labour would not be able to go on governing but for the votes of those whose sole object in voting Labour in Great Britain was to ensure that the renegotiation was carried on, the fundamental renegotiation, and that there was an eventual decision through the ballot box.
May I put to you a point which I would have put had I had a chance to do during the campaign, to suggest to you that you're a bit out of date on this point about fundamental renegotiation, because the Labour Party now is not as many would say, fundamentally renegotiating, because Mr. Callaghan has said he is not going to renegotiate the treaties, and therefore nothing in his renegotiation can affect the parliamentary sovereignty aspects which worry you so deeply.
Well, you have to explain how he can possibly square that with the precise words of a February manifesto, which were expressly reaffirmed in the manifesto on which the Labour Party fought this election. So far as I'm concerned, I believe they are the prisoners, willing or otherwise, of those promises which undoubtedly at the margin have secured them the right to govern at all.
Can I put to you what Lord Hailsham said during the campaign? Mr. Powell is so intent for personal reasons on ruining Mr. Heath that no attack, however violent, however irrational, is beyond him in his present frame of mind.
Well, there's only one person who ruined Mr. Heath, and that's Mr. Heath. As I told him in the House of Commons in 1972, it is absolutely fatal to attempt to govern on principles opposite to those on which you were elected. He needs no one else to ruin him after doing that.
Do you advise the Conservative MP to choose a new leader, Mr. Powell?
I'm not going to give advice to members of another party. The United Ulster Unionists have no commitments to any other party. I'm not a member of a Conservative party. Of course, I'm a Tory, but that's a different matter. Very different matter indeed, in many respects.
Do you hope
so I'm not going to interfere in other people's business.
Do you hope to rejoin the Conservative Party? Because you once said, and have often said, I was born a Tory and will die a Tory.
Indeed, and a Tory I am, which wouldn't apply to many members of the present Conservative front bench. But the answer to your question is that I hope that the Conservative Party, in its better mind, will see the necessity and justice of the case which is being put forward by the United Ulster Unionists, and that it will be possible for them, by affirming that policy, to secure the adherence of the United Ulster Unionists, and thus to reunite or reknit what used to be a very firm and important alliance.
Finally, Mr. Powell, on your new party, Lord Hailsham said of that, Enoch has found another cause to betray. What is your comment on that?
I leave people to judge for themselves, though I do not think their judgment generally agrees with that of Lord Hailsham.
Would you just hold one moment, Mr. Powell, because I have Lord O'Neill of the Main here, a former Unionist Prime Minister of Northern Ireland, and I wondered if he would like to make a comment to Mr. Powell, and in particular Mr. Powell's reported reference to the magnificent monolith of Protestant unity.
Did I say that? Did I use the word Protestant? You have inserted the word Protestant into what I said, which is an example of the I know it was unintentional on your part.
I apologise, Mr. Powell. Tell us what you did say. I didn't do it intentionally. I understood that was what you'd said.
No, but that's what's significant, in that I, not having used the word Protestant at all, you thought you were reporting me correctly when you inserted it. I said that the increased Unionist vote, the increased vote for the UUU candidate, as compared even with February, between 2,000 and 3,000, showed that the reknitting of the strands of union in this province is going ahead. That's what I said.
What did you say it was a magnificent monolith of?
I don't remember using the word monolith. I think it must be yours.
Mary Holland corrects me and is on your side on this point, that you said the magnificent monolith of Unionist unity.
In a rally at the Ulster Hall.
In a rally at the Ulster Hall.
Oh, I see.
Penny has dropped, has it?
Oh, yes. Well, I would like to see it, indeed, a monolith. I would like to see these strands so closely reunited that it would be no exaggeration to describe their unity as monolithic. I thought you were misunderstanding once again what I'd said this afternoon.
No, I'm glad you corrected me on the language, because we have a duty to get it right. But hold on for Lord O'Neill, who I think would like to make a comment to you about your attitude in Ulster.
Well, I'm not going to make a comment about his attitude, but I am gratified to see that he got a lower majority, a lower majority than Willie Orr, who for many years was the MP but didn't live there and latterly very seldom went there.
Why are you gratified? Do you think Mr. Powell is a force for evil in Ulster?
Well, I regret very much what Mr. Powell stands for, and whatever he may or may not have said about the shipyard, I'm perfectly sure that Mr. Powell is not in favour of regional development in the way that I was when I was Prime Minister and brought in new industry.
What about that, Mr. Powell?
I should have thought that what Lord O'Neill has said is evidence of his own bitter and frustrated state of mind. I can well understand that. But that for a former Ulster Prime Minister to regret the signs of Ulster unionism being reunited does seem to me to be the ultimate in self-contradiction.
Well, in my day, the Unionist Party was a very much more moderate party than the members with whom Mr. Powell is now associated.
And look what happened.
Well, if we're not going to have moderation, then we risk having civil war, and I at least will not be responsible for that.
And can I just put one point to you, Lord O'Neill? Do you not see that on a democratic basis, perhaps 50–60% of the vote in Northern Ireland have again rejected the cause of power sharing? And when a democracy does that, how can people, for whatever reason, force something down their throat which they don't want?
Oh, I fully accept what you say, Mr. Day, but it doesn't alter the fact that I'm very depressed, because I do not see how you can have peace in Northern Ireland unless you have something like power sharing.
Final comment from you, Mr. Powell.
Simply that I'm not depressed. I'm sorry that Lord O'Neill is, but one can understand that.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. And we look forward to you reappearing in Parliament, whatever any individual person may think of your particular views.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Well, now, that was a very interesting exchange. Mr. Powell, I think, has plainly had a very long...
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.